The diet of a super busy mother. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to tell you what else I've read in the month of March that hasn't been featured in its own separate video. My recent reads, if you will. I wouldn't say that the month of March was necessarily a bad reading month. It was just sort of a even-keeled reading month. Normally I frame these videos the best book to the worst book, but I had one phenomenal read and then the rest were middle of the road reads. So I'm just going to tell you about all of them in no particular order. Probably the order in which I read them. The first was Dredd Nation by Justina Ireland. This is an alternative history novel that deals with a zombie apocalypse that takes place during the Civil War in the United States, so 1860s. The book follows the main character, Jane McKean. Okay, the circumstances are this. So the Civil War is happening. We all know that was a war fought over, the southern United States right to own slaves. Supposedly on the battlefields, the dead were reanimating into zombies, and slaves, anyone of color, they were sort of repurposed as zombie fighters. Jane McKean is the main character. She goes to an all-girls school that trains these young women how to fight the undead. And I did not know going into it because I hadn't paid enough attention. But Dredd Nation is the first book in a series. I ended up giving this book 3 stars, which isn't bad. I liked it. I enjoyed the book. I listened to it on audio. I really loved Jane. I loved her. I loved her character. I loved the narrator of the audiobook. She came to life. She was so amazing. She just has this voice of like sarcasm and like not putting up with anybody's shit. And she's, definitely determined to be her own person, regardless of what else is going on. She struggles to play the game to keep everybody around her satisfied with her behavior and performance. But in reality, she's this little rebellious hellcat who definitely wants to kick ass and take names. She's one of the best when it comes to fighting zombies. So Jane's ultimate goal is to get out of this and return home to her mother. But along the way, she becomes concerned with the whereabouts of other people in her town, the conspiracies going on of whether or not people in power are handling this zombie outbreak appropriately. It fell short for me mostly because I didn't realize it was part of a series. So not a ton happens in this book. Like there's small conflicts between Jane and the people in power, and a mystery surrounding a family that they knew in Baltimore. But Jane's ultimate goal to get back to her mother is not realized in this book because it's book 1. It wasn't really my type of book to begin with. I like speculative fiction. I like zombie novels, obviously. I think it was the zombie draw that really got to me. But anyways, I liked Jane so much that I'd like to say that I'm going to continue on, but I can't tell you that without a doubt. I also wonder if this book would have even been as successful as it was for me if I had read it instead of listening to the audio, because when it comes to Jane as a character, it was enriched so much by the narrator that I don't know if I would have painted the same picture of Jane in my head. So not a bad read, not a waste of my time, just something I knew going in wasn't really my typical taste, and I chose to read it anyway. And so I was pleasantly surprised by the main character, the protagonist. And yeah, it was okay. Next, I read Here and Now and Then by Mike Chen. This is the story of a time-traveling fella. His name is Ken Stewart, and he works for this corporation that kind of oversees the apprehension of criminals who travel through time. So he's an agent of this time traveling agency, and he is sent back to 19. I don't know when his actual arrival date is, but it's the 1990s. Ken has been sent back there, and he's actually become stranded. So his company loses tabs on him, and he has no way to get back to his time, which is 2142. While in the past, Ken falls in love, gets married, has a daughter, lives 18 years in this life, and then one day his coworker, colleague slash best friend appears and says it's time to go home. It's been 18 years as far as Ken is concerned, but it's only been 2 weeks in 2142. So against his wishes, he's dragged away from his wife and child back into his present, where he has a fiance and they have only been apart for 2 weeks. So imagine the complication. I'm a fan of sort of displacement books. Characters who either are transported or travel through time really appeal to me. This one really appealed to me because of the idea that this man has really attractive lives in 2 timelines, and how does he reconcile where he actually belongs? I'd give this book, again, like 3, maybe 3.5 stars, because while the concept was exciting and the premise, it just pulled me in, and I wanted to know how the relationships for Ken were going to turn out. I was satisfied with the storyline and with the plot, but it fell short for me in being this futuristic novel that doesn't give me a really great idea of the future. The novel, or the author, thoroughly explains the agency that Ken works for and the job that Ken does and some of the technology that they use. But as far as being able to place Ken in 2142 and what life is like, and, you know, I think that's why we read science fiction and futuristic novels in particular, is to kind of see what somebody envisions for the future. And I don't really get a clear idea of what that future would be like in this novel. But it is well paced and exciting throughout. You definitely feel the emotional conflict of Ken and his 2 lives. You're satisfied with the ending. Like, it's a good book. So I'd probably 3.5 stars. I'm probably going to say I liked it. It's a little more my taste than Dredd Nation. And yeah, I definitely recommend this if you're a sci-fi or time traveling fan. Next, I listened to Royally Screwed by Emma Chase. This was the romance novel that I dove into after reading The Night Olivia Fell. I needed something lighthearted. I really wanted to read another Emma Chase book after reading Getting Schooled, which is one of my favorite romantic comedy novels of all time. So I picked up Royally Screwed. It's the first in a series. It is the story of a royal prince who visits the United States to track down his troublemaking brother, and ends up meeting and kind of falling for this down-to-earth bakery owner named Olivia. This book, again, is probably 3 stars for me. I didn't find it as funny as Getting Schooled. It wasn't as memorable as Getting Schooled. It was really cliche when it comes to a royal romance trope. Think Prince and Me, the movie, The Prince and Me, and you get something similar. It felt like the author was literally writing a book about William and Harry. It was okay. It was okay. It was a romance novel. It did its job. It gave me something lighthearted and fantastical and easy to digest after the emotional roller coaster that was The Night Olivia Fell. So I can't get mad at the book. It didn't turn me off from Emma Chase. It didn't even turn me off from the series, really. Obviously, the series is going to continue with the brother. I just went into it expecting to love it like I loved Getting Schooled, and that just didn't end up happening. Lastly, I have to tell you about this gem that I finally read. Pretty Girls by Karin Slaughter. Everyone and their brother has read this. If you're a thriller fan and you haven't read Pretty Girls, please do it. This is a 5-star for me. End of story. It is the story of a family with 3 daughters, and one of those daughters disappears. The family is left to deal with that tragedy and speculate always what happened to Julia. In the present, there's a whole sequence of events. The remaining 2 daughters, Claire and Lydia, are not on speaking terms. They never see each other. But a series of events occurs that leads Claire into down this really dark path of basically a snuff porn ring. So she stumbles upon all of this evidence. Women are abducted and tortured and mutilated and sexually assaulted and then eventually killed. And she pulls in her sister, and together they try to bust this secret wide open and gain a little bit of closure for their past as well. I was so surprised by this book, and I didn't expect to be. And I think that's why I never really read it. Everybody raves about it, but I just didn't expect to be surprised. However, that's not the case. I was very surprised by this book. This book takes a lot of twists and turns that I didn't see coming. And they start pretty much in the first couple of chapters. You're already getting information that will shock you. It's one of those thrillers that pulls you through the book, like I talked about, where there's something at stake. Somebody's in danger. There's an evil to overcome. Or defeat. These 2 women that grief is what has shaped their entire lives now have to work together to stop other people from experiencing the same thing. It's a beautiful book. It's a tragic book. It's a graphic book. There were plenty of times in this book where your stomach just goes, ugh. Not because it's so graphic that it's nauseating. It's just the things that happen to these people, these women, they're horrible. And it's affecting. It truly is. This is my first Karin Slaughter book to read, though I own more than this one. I don't know if any of her other books could possibly live up. If you've read other Karin Slaughter books and you're particularly fond of one of them, please let me know, because I like this style of writing. I like this style of book, and I'm hoping that there are repeats of this experience. I hope that this doesn't become the thriller that I measure every other thriller against and they all fall short. I don't know. But I loved it. I loved that part of the story was told in letters from the father to the missing daughter. I loved that the relationship between these 2 estranged sisters was really realistic. Their characters were genuine, and then the way that they related to one another was super spot on. I could picture any sibling pair in the world having these sorts of exchanges. You know, it's a good feeling book where the guilty, there's justice for the victims, and the guilty are punished, and it's just the kind of thing that's so satisfying to read and enjoyable while you do it. So highly recommend Pretty Girls by Karin Slaughter, although I don't know why I would bother recommending it, because everybody else and their brother recommends it, and I'm the last person on the planet to probably read it. I'm pretty sure I'm at least the last thriller booktuber to read this book. So, yay me. There you go. I'm awesome. Sorry, Pretty Girls will not be appearing in a book on haul. I'm not parting with this one. No way. If you have any experience with the books that I mentioned today, Please let me know down in the comment section below what you thought. As always, give me as many book recommendations as you can think of, because I'm always looking for a really great book, and I need to start listening to recommendations and taking them a little bit more seriously if they're all going to turn out like Pretty Girls. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon.